Hey family, welcome back to another awesome episode. I'm here today with Casey Edward. She is a life coach, she is a speaker, and she is the host of her very own podcast, the I Can't Wait to Tell You show. Welcome, Casey.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
I almost butchered the podcast name, so I had to take like a deep moment.
That's so fun. When I tell people what my show is called, I'll be like, I can't wait to tell you. And they kind of look at me and I'm like, no, that's what it's called. Yeah, that genuinely happens.
Well, I'm happy that you're here. We have a really incredible mutual friend together who's just such a light. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I know we had a lot of like scheduling things, but I really do believe in like divine timing. And when we were meant to like come together and just like have our laughs, which I can already tell like that's what it will be. It's always meant to be. So welcome. And what I'd love to start off with is the name of this show. You Are Not Your Thoughts is what you titled this episode today. How did you come to know and understand that we are not our thoughts?
Yeah, so it was a big part of my journey. In my 20s, I had pretty crippling anxiety. So on the external, it looked like I had a boyfriend, I had a job I loved, I was running all the time, I was doing races, I was healthy, but inside I felt like I was just crumpling, 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 and there was only so long until I would break. And I remember thinking, what is happening? Everything is in line like it should be. Why can't I figure things out? And so that was the catalyst to starting to meditate and starting yoga and getting my yoga teacher certification. And I think the most profound single thing that I've realized over this journey that relates to anyone, no matter if you're at step one of your journey or if you've been doing shadow work and spiritual work forever, is that you are not your thoughts. So you could be bopping around having the best day ever, and then a thought will come and be like, you're never going to get everything on your to-do list done. And it could change your day. Or you could just say, is that true? I always get my ish done, And I think that if someone had just pulled me aside, I played college soccer. No one ever taught me to do mental work, which would have been a game changer. And, it's one of those things that just that simple statement gives people the awareness and the power to be like, what does that mean? Oh, that feels nice to think that all of these mostly stressful thoughts aren't true. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And like, that's the point of this show, right? It's all about empowerment. It's all about us understanding that like there are tools out there, there are people out there, there are techniques out there that can help us understand who we really are beyond the self-deprecation of the mind and like exactly what you're talking about here. And for you, was it like the one modality that brought you in? Did you go to the one type of meditation? What was the journey like for you to this awareness?
Yeah. Well, so I remember when you have really bad anxiety, the last thing you want to do is sit down with yourself in silence. So I remember I tried everything. Like I said, I was working out all the time. I was eating healthy. I was doing all the things, and meditation. At the time, I wasn't aware of things coming into my consciousness or anything like that. But I just was like, this is the only thing I haven't tried. And so I have to sit down. So I remember I read a book, 10% Happier by Dan Harris. And I was like, okay, I'm just simply going to set a timer for 5 minutes and just sit and see what happens. And that's all I did. And I tried the guided meditations, but for me, where I was at, that was a lot because I already had a lot going on in my mind. So I was just like, I'm just going to set this timer, set it for 5 minutes, and just focus on in and out. Just try to hone in on one line of thinking. And that's when I started to really understand, oh, I don't have to go down the rabbit hole with every thousand thought, all of the thousands of thoughts. So yeah, I would say that for me, it was really just setting a timer, showing up, and tracing my breath. That was definitely my favorite one now. And then it's, of course, over the years, it's been about 7 years since I started. It's just always changing depending what I need or what I want to be doing.
Yeah. I can totally relate to just like this monkey mind. I'm someone who studied Ayurveda and I have very much like this Vata mind, but like a Pitta business drive, if you are familiar with this. And I remember when I first went to a yoga class, which was hot yoga, like vinyasa. I'm also a soccer player,
Mhm.
athlete, runner. And I was like, what the heck? We have to like do nothing? How am I supposed to just do nothing? But like you, the practice and the awareness of breath was something that really helped me because it wasn't just, okay, start to observe the thoughts. It was just observe your breath. Like start there. Simple, simple, simple.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And even now, after practicing for so long, I realize how often I get taken out of the present moment. You know, 99.9% of the time, what we're thinking isn't the reality of this given moment. And so the breath is such a good way to just come back into what is going on in my body. What is my heart rate at right now? How can I just come back into what truly is? And the breath is always an anchor in that way. So, yeah, definitely.
So it sounds like one part of your journey is like this understanding of like meditation, yoga, breath, thoughts. But I also know that you're a life coach. So how does this all like come together in your work and how do you help people?
Yeah. So I think that, again, becoming aware that at least you're not your thoughts and you're not your anxiety is usually the foundation of things, because if you want to do anything, you have just got to take a step back. So you can't make change unless you're aware of what you're trying to change and what you're trying to change into. So I really help people understand that thought creates emotion, it's a network, and you sometimes might just be running on autopilot. If you were stressed out for so long, your body memorizes it's thinking it's being helpful. And so you have to get to a place where you're greater than what's going on in your mind, in your thoughts, and in your body. And when that happens, it's so easy to just start to, again, I often teach the best way to start things is by questioning the thoughts that are making you feel bad. So again, we can use the to-do list. You're never going to get everything done on your to-do list. And you just say, is that true? And all of a sudden the mind is like, what? You're questioning me. You have this moment of, there's like a little bit of a buffer where you can laugh a little bit and be like, well, I usually get my stuff done. And then if it does seem true in the moment, that's okay too. But then you can be like, what if I didn't get everything done? What if the worst case scenario, I didn't get to the laundromat today and I didn't go to Whole Foods, whatever. And it just helps you come out of, like, I could picture like this like little tight ball that the mind is just trying to control. And the more you can zoom out and breathe, and I mean, I love control. I love things organized. But the more that you can zoom out and just be like, okay, if that weren't true, what could I be thinking right now that would be true? If I were this next level version of myself, how would I be thinking? I'd be thinking about the task on hand and how great I'm going to do at it. So it just helps you, just give you that buffer, again, that buffer before reaction.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. And what's coming to my mind, and I think I've shared this on the show before, but I'm going to butcher the quote, of course. It's a Mark Twain quote, and it's something along the lines of like, I've had 1,000 fears and none of them have ever happened, or none of them have ever come true. Like we have these things circulating through our mind, a lot of deprecating thoughts, a lot of like, what if, a lot of fear of the future or beating ourselves up for the past. But does it actually ever happen? Like some of our worst fears, does it actually happen? Or is that just a figment of like thought?
Yeah. I mean, it rarely happens. And you could just be laying there and you have this wild thought and you start to go down the rabbit hole again. And the thing that we have to start to realize is, if we're capable of imagining worst case scenario, we are also capable of imagining best case scenario. So, okay, I could think about, what if Linda at the office has been talking about me for 3 weeks because I wasn't getting my work done? Or I could think, I'm doing my best and everyone's going to notice that. And if they don't, that's fine, but I'm doing my best and I'm going to continue to do my best. And it's just like, where you give your energy to is where you give your attention is where your energy is going to go. And it's like this self-fulfilling prophecy. You pay attention to something, you give your energy to it, you create more of it, and then you're just in this circle. So if you're worrying all of the time, then you're just going to keep being in that place of lack and of stress and of worry. Or you can shift out of it. Now, I'm not saying you have to go from being super stressed out to being like, I'm a millionaire, everything's fine. But you can go from stressed out AF to, I usually get things done. Everything might be okay, and just start seeing what it feels like. And again, we've been maybe conditioned to be in the former, in the stressed out way of living. So it'll take a little practice, but it's possible. It's possible to best case scenario think. And it's fun.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
It's like a muscle. The way I see this is like the more that we focus on noticing and observing where our focus is and where our attention lies, it's going to get easier to bring it to something like that future vision of like who we want to be, what we want to do. And this is something like I still have these like thoughts of like, who are you? What are you doing? Like everyone has this, right? Like we're not perfect. And for me, I always come back to this book called Frequency by Penny Pierce, which is all about understanding like vibration and frequency and how like that's the basis of the universe and how we can, redirect. Do you have like that comeback thing that you bring yourself back to? Is it a practice? Is it a book? Is it a teaching? Like, how do you bring yourself back?
Yeah, meditation, man. Every single time, meditation for a multitude of reasons. I mean, if you want to be scientific about it, when we're running around in these high beta brainwave states, which is essential sometimes, but we're not meant to always be on, always be highly optimally functioning, always be analyzing. So we come down out of that. We come into these states where our intuition is and when we can see clearly and how we can feel. But also for me, when I can tell I'm not being the version of me that I want to be, meditation takes me into the space where I can be. So into the quantum, into the field, whatever you want to call it. It takes you into that place because you get out of the mind. So again, if you're the awareness, it's like you're the awareness and you have a mind and you have a body. You're neither of them, but you start to just observe what's going on. It's the old patterns and you can take a step back and say, okay, I love you. I hear that, but we are shifting into this. And then again, you go into that imagination. And so I would say meditation. And for books, Joe Dispenza, the first book, like, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, was when I'm kind of analytical. So I was like, this is a lot. This is very spiritual. And then I learned that it's science. And I was like, how does everyone not talk this? So I'm reading right now, Becoming Supernatural. So I would say anything Joe Dispenza, especially if you're interested in what really is going on. It's helpful to know what's going on in your brain and in your body.
We're totally on the same wavelength because I'm sitting here like laughing and I'm like, I gotta ask her if she knows like Joe Dispenza's work. Like she speaks his language, like, I'm just getting what she's saying. And then of course you recommended it's an interesting concept, You Are Not Your Thoughts, because we've never been given this like guidebook for life, I would say. And then this one kind of like is like, oh my God, what does she even mean? So have you had this experience where people are like, what are you talking about, Casey? Like, I literally don't get it.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, okay. So the best way to describe that is I have a friend who is into all of this and she essentially calls some people who aren't aware, they're just living the movie, which is so fine, but they are in the thick of the movie. So they have no idea that their thoughts become things or that they're creating all of the time and that things aren't happening to them, they're happening because of them. And so I would say it's funny, as I've come along this way, you start to realize that some people just aren't ready and that's okay. So if someone's kind of like, what are you talking about? And I can tell that they're not open to it or not ready for it. I'm like, oh, just that you can decide on what you think or you can make a better mindset. So I kind of turn towards positive thinking. If they're not open to all of it, I'm just like, just think better thoughts. You'll feel better. You'll feel happier because I think everyone's pretty receptive to that. So that's usually how I try to turn into going down the lane, but really slowly.
That's a good way of doing it. 'Cause you're right. And this is something I struggle with as this human who wants to like help everyone and help people transform into the highest version of themselves. Not everyone is ready for that. And yeah, baby steps or just taking a step back of, hey, you could do one small thing like positive thinking or whatever it is that you suggested.
Yeah. Cause I mean, if someone had come to me like where I'm at now, if someone in my position now came to me 7 years ago and tried to explain what we just talked about, I'd be like, you need to back off. No, I can't. I don't, it's just not, it's not equitable. You can't do it. So yeah, I would say everyone's on board with feeling a little happier, doing things they love more, thinking a little bit more positively. I think that's a good start for anyone.
I agree. One of the questions I love to ask people when they come on the show, I'm this like big visionary. I'm like, so what would the world look like if more people understood that they were not their thoughts?
Okay. So fundamentally, in the grand scheme of things, there would be a lot more love, kindness, a lot less war. I mean, realistically, all war and all things of that nature come from ego. They would never come from soul or God. Now, I don't think everything would be perfect because we learn from obviously contrast. We need highs and lows and we need dark and light. But I think that there would be far less of what we're seeing in the world. I think there would just be more love and more understanding, even in the day-to-day, more understanding. If someone didn't get something done at work, oh, like what happened? Why didn't you get it done, rather than there was a deadline? So I think in that way, in the grand scheme of things, everything would be nicer. And then I think a lot of people would quit their jobs. I think a lot of people would be like, I can use my thoughts to create what I want to do. I can manifest a certain amount of money if I start to show up as this new version of me. I don't have to be in corporate. Maybe they want to, but I don't want to be in corporate. I can be in a healthy relationship. So I think that the world would change profoundly in that expansion would happen so quickly because there would be so much less of a constituted way of doing things and more of this, oh, like the minds would open up, the universal mind would open up. And so I think that, I don't know, aliens might be living with another conversation, but there might be a lot of things that would change. And it like gives me a good feeling to think about, you know, anyone can do it. It's just being like, okay, you know, I can do this. And I think that for a lot of people, the jumping off point is not wanting to suffer themselves anymore. I know that was mine. So it kind of gets to the point where I was sick of my own stuff. I didn't want to keep doing the things I was doing. I was like, I'm not doing things right. And so I think suffering, you know, would go away a lot for individuals and then for humanity. But yeah, that would be a wild ride.
I'm ready for it. We're here for it. Obviously, we're having this kind of conversation. So it means that like this is possible for more and more people because, you know, just a ripple effect in general. If we're having this conversation, you know, we can reach one person, that person reaches someone else. It is so possible. And I'm just sitting here like reflecting for myself. There's one phrase in society that really just like irks me. And it's like same shit, different day.
Yeah.
Right. We hear this all the time. And I'm like, but what if it wasn't like that? You know, what if you could enjoy your day to day? And it's almost like a programmed response by humanity. I don't know if you noticed this too, but it's like you are in control. So if you're saying that, then yeah, your life's going to look like same shit, different day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's funny because so I just went full time with my podcast and with my coaching. I for a long time had side gigs or side hustles, a little scared. So I moved into this and I found myself in the same routine, having mental to-dos. And then yesterday I woke up and I was like, wait. I'm my own effing boss. Like I'm my own boss. And so what did that mean? It meant that instead of going for the run around the neighborhood I usually go for, I went to a state park and I paid the $10 and I got to run around the water. And then after that, I get a coffee at a new place. It's just thinking of if I want change, it can be the smallest thing. New coffee shop, new Starbucks, go to Starbucks still, go to a different one. And then you start bumping into people. And then you start having new conversations. And then the shit isn't the same every day. And it's just one little decision can make everything blow up.
I love that. And it's also that reminder that like, if we want something to change big, we can do something small. Like it's all connected. It's all a mirror. So like you basically creating this like new neural pathway by just going to a different state park or a different coffee shop. Like that's basically like showing your brain that there's something new for you. Like there's a new path opening, right?
Oh, absolutely. And this is where the awareness comes in because your mind will say, no, same Starbucks, same running path, go the way that we always go, do the safe things, because ultimately the brain wants to keep you safe. Like God bless it, the brain wants to keep you safe. But just know that Like some days after years of doing this, my mind will say, do I want to do that? Do I want to have the coaching? Do I want to do the interview? My soul loves it. And still my mind is like, And I'm like, how are we still doing this? You don't take it seriously. You just kind of let it go. But just know that you are not going to want to, your mind's not going to want to, but inside your soul is saying, let's switch it up. It is.
One thing that I'm sure a lot of people who maybe start to like venture into this work are curious about is like this understanding of like ego wants versus like soul wants. So like how would you kind of describe them?
Yeah. So I think that again, meditation is really good for practicing discernment. And I
Mhm.
would say that in the moments where I can't decide, even now, I drop into my body. So what this looks like for me is if I'm having a moment of, I'll use coffee because I love coffee, but sometimes I'm kind of like, should I have it today? Do I need to be that caffeinated? I'll take a moment and I'll get into my body. So my mind is saying, yes, coffee, yes, coffee, yes, coffee. And I'll just take a moment and I'll drop in. And for me, I have like gut visceral reactions. Some people might feel it in their heart, but everyone knows gut instinct. And I think that most people can relate. So I'll just take a second and I'll feel into my body. Would it feel good today? And it's like, oh yeah, I want a latte. Or it's like it doesn't sound or feel good to go to it. So I think that starting to differentiate comes a lot from slowing down, especially in moments of decision. I used to be so stressed and panicked about everything and running around trying to make decisions. So now, it could be a big decision or a little decision. Just starting to it's like a practice, like you said, just starting to get to know, is my mind the safe, comfortable mind that's trying to keep me safe and only knows what I've experienced already up to this point in my life? Is that making the decision? Or is this profound part of me making the decision? Can I feel it in my body that that would be good? And this is especially good if you're doing something that's scary. You do interviews. Interviews are still scary for me after 2 years. My mind is like, ah. And so I just take a few moments before I even get on with people and I'm like, oh yeah. Like, oh yeah. So it's just a practice of taking a few moments to just say, what wants this? What wants this? What doesn't want this? I mean, again, running, a lot of the times I don't feel like running. And for the first 3 miles, I'm like, I hate this. And then after that wears off and I don't give it the energy, then the intuition, then the soul kicks in. I'm like, oh, I knew that this was going to happen. So
Mhm.
just practicing saying, what's telling me this? And you'll get the answer in some way. It'll be unique to everyone, but yeah.
That's a really good way of putting it. You give really good examples, which I think help people like self-identify with like, this is a little bit more of an ethereal topic and we need to be able to actually identify really practically with this type of information. So thank you for making that really simple. And I'm just like relating this to the book launch tomorrow and all the authors are feeling like, holy shit, this is major, this is expansive, like, oh my God, parts of me want to play small because this is so scary, right? We've never done this before. So like the example would be mind is saying, this is not safe. You have never done this before. Soul is like, woo, let's go.
100%. 100%. And sometimes if you feel like you can't get out of your own way, do something big. Be like, you know what? I'm going to go travel for 3 days. I'm going to take work off and I'm going to try, just send it. Like nothing bad is going to come from just sending it, going for it, doing something new, getting on a plane, doing, for me, it's always travel or getting out there somewhere, but whatever it may be, if you're dating online, be like, you know what? I'm going to get on Hinge today and I'm going to message 3 guys or gals and I'm going to do this, just go for it. Like there's nothing wrong with going for it. And if you feel like you're playing it safe, decide on something that you normally wouldn't do and just see what happens and do that as much as you can, as much as you can.
I love it. And of course, mine would always be travel too. So what is next for you? Are you traveling anywhere? Are you creating anything new? Like, what are you visioning for yourself?
Yeah. So I actually have been really interested in the idea of wealth. So I've been meditating a lot on taking next steps into next levels of wealth. And I've been getting some really exciting messages because I think of it so 3D or so money related. And, I know a lot of people say it's like sunshine or it's like the trees. And when you're in a bad financial place, you're like, that's cool, but I can't spend the same time at the store. So I've been just trying to like, the other day I was meditating and I got the idea of, worry isn't at the level of wealth. If you're wealthy, feeling wealthy, you're not worrying all the time. But anyway, so the other day I was like, okay, what can I do? I want to spread wealth and spread well-being. So I was coaching individuals for a really long time, and now I'm actually going to be coaching corporate. So I'm going to go into companies and bring meditation in. I know, I'm so excited, and bring it to, I was thinking about it, and Instagram and everything, there's so much good. But what about the people who aren't following wellness hashtags and are in companies stressed out and don't have tools and outlets? So that's going to be the next thing for me, which of course, mind freaking the F out. But soul is like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
So cool. This is like a fascinating topic, and I love talking about wealth and money and success and like what we perceive the value to be based on societal standards, and then like redefining what that actually means for us, like actually. So I find it a fascinating conversation, and I'm glad that you're able to like take these steps toward, number one, what you want to be doing, but also helping people that aren't receiving this online, moving into, it'll be physical. Like, will you be in person?
Both. So if someone's like, okay, will you come in? I'll be like, sure. Where are you? Anywhere in the country. I already thought about that. I'm like, that's so cool. I'll totally fly out. And then if it's virtual, if virtual's still easier, then than that. So it's going to manifest in different ways. I've been thinking about it and putting it together, which led me to, I'm creating a new office space. You know how one thing, and then you're like off to the races. So yeah, it's going to be anywhere and everywhere.
I love this. I love this. I love this. Tell us about your show really quickly as we wrap up here. I want to hear about it.
Yeah, it's everything that we've been talking about. And I named it I Can't Wait to Tell You because, again, I was a college athlete. I went to school through college. No one ever taught me to assimilate my emotions, what my emotions were, money's never talked about, all of these things that were taboo. Don't feel, don't talk about money, don't talk about the things that you care about. And I'm like, I can't wait to talk about all of these things because, again, it's blowing up the comfort. It's blowing up the because if we're not talking about money, if we're not talking about emotions, if we're not feeling these things, it's going to stay in the dark, and we have to bring it into the light. So it's a lot of woo-woo, but it's usually backed by science, but sometimes it's not. The last episode was wonderful and was on past lives. But yeah, it's on all the things. Yeah.
Mm. I love it. Very cool. Well, you're doing awesome things. This has been very fun to just kind of riff with you. I think we could probably dive deep into some really cool topics if we were here for a couple hours. How can people find you, enter your world, all that jazz?
Yeah, Instagram. I'm definitely on Instagram the most. So it's at Casey_Edward. It's just my name. And then pretty much everything is in my link tree. The podcast also has an Instagram, which is I Can't Wait to Tell You .podcast. And yeah, everything is there. So yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much, Casey, for everything, for being here. Perfect. It's perfect.
Tomorrow. I can't wait to get it.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for supporting the show. Thank you for supporting the book and the mission, which is really all about amplifying powerful voices who are here to make a difference in the world, sharing about things that not everyone talks about. That's my cup of tea. So I hear you. I hope you have an amazing day. And I hope that everyone who's listening here today and will listen in the future has an awesome day. See you guys later.